Morning, Andy. How you doing this morning?
Hey, good morning, Michael.
Hey, back for some coffee and some chit-chat here at Studio
C.
Yeah.
We're also calling it the listening room. We're going to do some listening today and some playing.
It's a listening and playing and hanging out and chit-chatting room. Can you put that all on a plaque?
That's kind of a long title,
Oh. All right, so Studio C would probably go well on a plaque.
So are you drinking your half calf again?
Half calf, man. In my Universal Studios purchased cup, Thing 2. We also have Thing 1, but I didn't want to be a two-fisted drinker.
Right.
How about yourself? What are you drinking?
I got my cappuccino. I got that nice, makes the steamed milk. We've got that machine up front.
Yeah.
And so ever since then, it's kind of hard to drink like the Mr. Coffee brand drip coffee, because you get hooked on it. Because it tastes good, and I use chocolate milk, so.
Whoa. I used to put a lot of chocolate milk in mine too, but I got to be a little heart smart because I'm an old man.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the coffee cup's seen better days, but that's my daughter, and she made a little cardboard guitar, and this is like her hugging the dog and doing flips, and so kind of a kid cup.
Well, mine's kind of a kid cup too, but not the same.
Thing 2.
Yeah, it's not my kid. Yeah,
okay.
So
here we are.
Last week we really enjoyed having Mark Huff come in and
Mark Huff was our guest last week, and he did that song by Matchbox 20.
Yep.
And, I actually made 2 versions of that video. One where I cut it out, and then the other one where I kept it in, because I found out that due to copyright, we would have to share, like we got a copyright flag, like, hey, this is a cover song. And so what I figured is we could do the whole 40-minute interview and post that, and then the part that's the 2 minutes of the song, we could post that separately. And then that way the 40-minute interview thing is all ours, and it doesn't include any covers.
Well, and I mean, I guess they could sue us for the zero amount of money we have.
Yeah, the zero amount.
Yeah, living paycheck to paycheck, just like every other regular human being.
Just a couple of regular guys. What was that Saturday Night Live one where he was like, we're just a couple of crazy guys.
Wild and crazy guys. Steve Martin and Dan
Steve
Aykroyd.
Martin, yeah.
Yeah. Wait, is that copywritten, even just mentioning their names?
I think we have to cut that part out.
No. Yeah, big fan, man. Big fan of all that SNL stuff. But today, we thought about, since we don't have a guest, that we would be the guests.
Right. Now, next week we have a guest, right?
As far as you know. I really hope that this gentleman can make it. I hesitate mentioning his name just in case.
All right.
Okay,
and I've got some other friends that I've told about the podcast, and so we'll see if we can get them in as guests as the weeks go by.
Yeah, but I don't have any friends. No, really, I know tons of musicians too, and a few of them I've talked to. I'll spread the word a little more.
So today it's just you and I, and what we're going to do is we're going to play a little bit on our instruments, and we're going to do a little bit of listening to some tracks that have already been released. So here we go.
And you can find them on YouTube and find mine on all the other platforms.
Spotify,
Apple Music, Amazon Music, etc., etc., etc.
And you can just ask Alexa to do it.
Oh, yeah. I've never talked to Alexa.
You can just say, Alexa, find Michael Snyder-Barker on YouTube, and bing, it comes up immediately.
Whoa. Man, you gotta love this modern technology. So what guitar do you have with you? What instrument do you have with you?
I put my guitar in the dryer and it shrunk, and so...
But it grew strings.
It grew extra strings. Okay, so it has 8 strings. This is a mandolin, everybody, and so it's basically a tiny guitar, but here's the thing. If you've ever played the fiddle, you know all the moves in the fingerings because it's tuned like a fiddle. So if you've played the violin, you're right at home.
Is it like a ukulele too?
No, because the tuning's way different than ukulele.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
how about a bass guitar?
That's a great question. It is tuned. It's tuned differently than a bass guitar.
Okay.
And so the tuning is different than guitar, different than ukulele, different than bass, different than banjo, different than the other string instruments you might have played before.
Lute?
Different than lute. So it's exactly tuned like a violin, G, D, A, E. Okay, so if you know violin stuff, you'll be right at home. If you want to play chords and you know how to play guitar, once you pick up your mandolin, you got to start over because all the chord shapes are different, right? So like this is a G, and this is a D, and this is a C. So you won't recognize any of that stuff. It's completely different, right?
So you generally play them with just the 2 fingers?
That's a great question. Okay, according to bluegrass purists, you don't really use many open strings when you play your chords, and that's different than cowboy chords on a guitar, which always have open strings, right? And so bluegrass purists will tell you, well, you got to put a finger on every string, and so G becomes this, which is nearly impossible for like a beginner, right? And then A would be like you cover every string. You don't use any open strings. And then that way you can get that choppy, you get that kind of choppy sound.
Oh, very cool.
However, I like the open string sound because it rings and sustains.
And you're not a purist.
And I'm not a bluegrass purist.
You're not a purist, you're a musician.
In fact, I went to a bluegrass jam one time. This was out west, out in Colorado. And he was like, all right, everybody, let's play Wagon Wheel. Or, you know, it was some kind of basic, easy folk tune, right? Key of G. So I just came in, hey, play a G, here we go. And the leader of the bluegrass jam points at me. He's like, hey, stop, that's not G. You can't play G that way. You're doing it wrong. Don't play like that. You have to play this G. And I was like, well, why? This is G. Sounds great, right? I'll just do this. He's like, no, you can't play. Go sit down and listen because you're only allowed to play this G at this jam. And I was like, great, well,
bye-bye.
That doesn't sound like fun. My fingers are getting tired.
Yeah.
But anyway, so... Good night. Okay, in fact, I wanted to show off a little bit with something I recorded yesterday. Okay, so we got Logic Pro going here on our computer, and yesterday we had a recording session where I played mandolin and fiddle, and I'll show off a little bit of the mandolin stuff. Let's just hear the first bit of this song. It's a song we're working on. It's kind of got that hip-hop groove. My friend Danny playing bass.
And I'm not on the drums.
This is a computer drummer. Okay, here's the mandolin. So I put distortion on the mandolin. I played it through a guitar amp.
Nice.
Okay, and so I plugged it in. This plugs in and has a basic pickup. But I plugged it into a guitar amp and I just turned the distortion all the way up. Oops, missed a note. The nice thing about recording is you can always edit, right?
That's right.
Put a little blues in there. I even did a little bend, like I did. Can you bend on a mandolin? I guess you can. Cool, thank you, good night. All right, now let's see what you've got. So you brought in a cigar box slide ukulele.
A cigar box slide ukulele. You know, I'd purchased a little stomp box from Bruce Fogelsong at the Apple Lumpkin Festival here in Tecumseh. And I liked that, and I wanted to go back to see him since I started playing guitar, and I wanted something just a little bit different. And I was looking around, I was thinking about just a regular ukulele, and then I saw this, and I thought, oh man, how can I play this in a really sloppy way?
So
and
this is handmade.
It's handmade, and it's tuned to the lower strings on a guitar. There's an E, and a B, and a G.
EBG.
EBG. And, you know, the strings are off the neck and the board quite a bit, and, you know, so you can't really do...
Fret it.
There's no way to fret it, and so I don't fret about that.
But bump.
Yeah. And I actually have the chords written on the side of it.
Ah, there's your
Yeah.
dots and such.
So
okay.
that tells me where things are, since it's there are no frets,
There's
no actual
markings,
frets,
yeah.
no markings. There were actually 3 markings at the C, the D, and the G spot.
That G string.
Yeah, that's a different podcast, and it also has a plug-in with a basic pickup on the inside, and it actually has a volume knob just underneath.
So it has electronics.
Yeah, and I'm still learning how to play slide, man. I'm Mr. Basic, and so it's really an accompaniment instrument. It's not really a lead instrument at all. So I could play. Let's see, what song? Okay, I think I might be cursed. I can remember. Mule kicked me in the head. A mule kicked me in the head. I thought I was gonna be dead. I guess I can do this. 'Cause a mule kicked me in the head. My foot got run over by a truck. My foot got run over by a truck. I guess that's my kind of luck. 'Cause my foot got run over by a truck. I think that I might be cursed. Ooh, I need a curse. My life is such a mess. Much pain I do confess.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Yeah, so
That's cool.
That's a cigar box ukulele slide guitar made by Bruce Fogelsong.
And the nut, I just have to point this out, is like has threads, like it's a rebar piece or whatever,
Yeah,
and then the
yeah.
strings go through the grooves, and that is a really cool little idea how he, like all those little details like that. And then there's like a string tree to keep the strings,
Separated.
yeah,
And they're actually steel string, not nylon string. Like a common ukulele.
and then it has like little sound ports.
Yep, right here. And I mean, you can open it up and
You
see,
can open
see
it?
what's
Wow,
inside.
that's cool.
You know, and maybe you can hide your valuables in there while you're playing or something.
You can put your pick in there.
Or you can put your pick there.
Hey, that's cool.
You know, I learned about putting these little things on the back of the neck from a good friend of mine.
Hey, I always do it that way.
Yeah, thanks, Andy.
Yep. The audience can't see it that way.
Yeah, and I think it's been fun looking into different instruments. And I've had a few different ones. I did get rid of my, what's the guitar with the big metal thing in the middle?
The hubcap guitar.
Yeah, I let that
Steel
go.
something.
Yeah.
Lap steel.
No, it has an actual
Resonator.
Resonator, because I just didn't think I was doing it justice, and I thought, okay, I can trade this in and I get something else, and you know, I did get something else, and I'll bring it another time.
I know a really good steel resonator player. His name's Bill. He's from about an hour north of here. And he lays it down flat
Oh, yeah,
and plays it on his lap.
yeah.
And he plays in standard tuning, which is kind of a surprise because a lot of those slide players do alternate tunings.
I never even thought about tuning it different than a guitar, because
Right.
you know.
Well, you can tune it to a chord, and then that way life gets easy as far as if you want to jam along with the chords of a song.
And this guitar was, the strings were lower to the fret, so I could, play chords.
Mhm.
But I'll try again maybe in 5 years.
Well, let's continue on. Let's keep going. So this
Yeah.
is the listening room, and so another thing that we're going to do is we're going to just do some listening and make some comments about everything we hear.
We're gonna listen in the listening room.
We're going to listen in the
Oh,
listening
man,
room.
No way.
Instead of just playing our instruments. We're going to listen to some music that's already been released and react to it.
Yeah, and these are actually on the YouTubes.
It's on the YouTubes. Okay, and so today on the docket we have Michael Snyder-Barker with Mortal Coil, and we also have Andy Schiller with Behind Those Eyes. Okay, and so we're starting with just one of your songs and one of my songs.
Yeah.
But what I look forward to is finding some local musicians in the Southeastern Michigan music scene, introducing their music to you, going through it and kind of seeing what it's all about. And then if we have, as the weeks go by, more and more guests, we can kind of show everybody out there how active the music scene is around Ann Arbor, Ypsi, Detroit. Hey, even down to Toledo counts, because Toledo is closer than Detroit to me, because I'm at the very south part of Michigan here in Tecumseh.
I'm always fond of Detroit though, because I grew up there. I know it better than Toledo. I even look at the Detroit Zoo as way better than Toledo Zoo, even though it's in Royal Oak.
In the 90s, everybody was talking about how Seattle is great and where's the next Seattle? And then we had, Runaway Train by Soul Asylum, and they were from Minnesota, and everybody's like, hey, St. Paul, Minnesota is the next Seattle.
You had all those Minnesota folks, Soundgarden, Nirvana.
No, those were Seattle. But
Oops.
But Soul Asylum was from Minnesota.
Okay.
And so all eyes are on the Minnesota music scene to see, like, what's going on. And then after that, we had the Verve Pipe and other bands from East Lansing and Ann Arbor. And so all eyes suddenly went to, hey, we got Grand Rapids, we got East Lansing, we got Ann Arbor.
Jack White from Detroit.
And hey, then we got Jack White from Detroit.
Yeah.
So, there was Motown in the 50s, and then things maybe died down a little bit. But,
Well, and also in the 60s, you had some punk bands like Iggy Pop and the Stooges from Ann Arbor.
Sure.
The MC5 from Detroit.
Right.
Flaming Pink, or something like that from downriver area, and they had some popularity. Bob Seger from Ann Arbor.
Yeah, there's a lot of great bands from local Michigan music scenes.
Madonna from Rochester, Michigan.
Madonna. My friend Matt is in a band called the Aliens. They're from West Michigan, like Muskegon, and they were pretty popular for a while. And then, of course, we had the Restroom Poets.
Yeah.
And they're still around, but they're called Jason McGee and the Cross Lines, and they have that studio. Ben Lorenz has that studio out in Willis, which is an old church. And so, they're famous around here. I don't know if you've heard of them, but they've been around since...
They've been pretty hot since the late 80s.
Yeah. And their music sounds great on vinyl. They just released... the Cross Lines released their album on vinyl, and that's interesting because I think vinyl's sort of making a comeback.
We also have Frank Allison around here. He was hot in the 90s, and he currently is the owner of the Clinton Theater.
Wow.
Yeah.
So one-screen theaters are a thing of the past, but we still have one.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a lot of wonderful musicians, and those are just like Laith Al Sayed. Those are the folks who've had some popularity, but there are so many people that I think are way better, who nobody knows, and we'll introduce some of those folk.
My old friend Jordan Shug plays cello, and he's from Adrian, and just found out that he released an album on Third Man Records.
Really? Jack
White's album.
Yeah,
and
label.
Wow, he can play cello, but he's like a jazz monster. He can just tackle any jazz or read any sheet music cold on the first try. That's crazy.
I got to tell you, this is an old bad dad joke kind of thing. There's always room for cello.
There's always room for cello. We have to sneak that joke into every episode. Okay, well, the first song we're going to listen to is called Behind Those Eyes. And here it goes.
Behind those eyes, you find a brain.
All right. Well, there's me in my younger days, and so it starts out on acoustic guitar. Just a solo guitar so far. Every song's got to have an intro.
In the middle.
We'll get there. Okay, so this drummer, I had a whole bunch of studio musicians. This drummer ended up moving to LA and forming a pretty famous band. There's viola right here, and cello again. That's Ben Davis on cello. He's pretty amazing. I picked Ben Davis because he was like the heavy metal cello player in the area. He would play with distortion or a wah pedal.
Nice. It's really pretty.
I like the camera work. My friend Mike ran the camera. You can tell he's kind of walking around and sort of moving the camera, and he's changing the focus. So sometimes you go into focus or out of focus, and that's interesting to me. Okay, obviously there's two tracks of guitar. There's like a finger picking, and then there's a lead. That guitar is a Trinity College, it's an Irish guitar company, Trinity College. The music store where I bought that guitar had one Trinity College guitar, and
now it has zero?
Now it has zero. So the traveling salesman came from Ireland, is like, you'll want to carry these, and they had one. And they didn't sell it for years and years and years and years. And I finally just bought it for half price because they wanted to get rid of it.
Well, it's beautiful.
So the strings are further apart. So if you like finger picking, see it has the spacing where the strings are further apart. So okay, kind of a violin and viola and cello feature here. I like the brushes. The brushes are just what the song needs.
Absolutely.
It seems to keep building, and that's what I was going for.
Well, it really transports you in a nice way.
Okay, here's the change. Okay, so now I'm doing some tapping and such. Okay, every song needs a bridge, where in the middle section you do something else. So it's like a percussion break.
And the drummer's using hot rod sticks.
Yeah.
Which are really nice. I've got some.
Like the bamboo.
Yeah.
It's like a bunch of bamboo sticks all tied together. And then here we are breaking into...
A pair of them right here.
That's it, yeah, hot rods. So now a different riff, and kind of break into back to the basic drum beat. What are we,
It's kind of a transition.
4 minutes into the song, and there's a new riff, So it has like maybe like a sense of longing. Like this one, like Rick Beato would say, hey, you're using D Lydian. Okay, so like the scale has some dissonance. Okay, now listen to this chord.
Nice.
Key change. There's your modulation. Okay, and like any proper song, the ending is the intro. So you come back to the intro for the ending.
Nice.
So back to just one guitar again. So the loudest part of the song was right there at the very end. Okay, and then I reused the transitional chords. Remember that key change we talked about?
Yeah.
So here it is again. End on F sharp.
Hey.
When in doubt, always end on F sharp, okay? All right, that was cool. We got it.
Yeah.
So what did you think of that song?
You know, I thought it was really pretty, and I think I'd rather listen to it with my eyes closed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just so that I could really absorb the changes, the pattern, the melody, and the emotional feel of the tune.
Was kind of going for the mood or the feel. It's not like a guitar shredding song where I'm playing a bunch of solos. It's more like there's some finger picking, there's some violin, and so we're just trying to set the mood. And then my goal was to kind of build, and so the loudest parts at the end.
You know, I really like the finger hammering thing. I've not seen you in real life doing that.
Here's a thought. I mostly play nylon string guitar these days at my gigs. And if you've ever tried to do tapping on a nylon string guitar, you probably won't be satisfied with your results. This guitar from the video is a steel string. And so guys like Andy McKee and Trace Bundy and Khaki King, okay, she uses a steel string guitar, and when they do their tapping and they bang on the strings, it really has a lot of sustain and you can really hear the notes, not like a nylon string guitar. So the reason I haven't done too much tapping is because here I am on stage with my nylon string guitar. So tapping's kind of out. You know, you just can't make it ring like you can on a steel string. But here's the other side of the coin. Like I could play steel string guitar for 4 hours and my fingers don't hurt. Whereas if I play a steel string guitar, I got about an hour in me before my fingers start to feel tired, you know. And so I can't play a steel string guitar for 4 straight hours. I just can't do it.
Yeah, I get it.
All right, shall we move on?
Yeah, sure. I mean,
Right.
we're going to be talking about a CD that I came out with. It dropped in May of 2024, and I called it Bark's Tales 60-20-24. And what that signifies is I turned the ripe old age of 60 in the year of 2024. And when I say ripe, I mean ripe. And I kind of looked at it as a party on a platter kind of thing. You know, my brother did this beautiful artwork. It made it look like a comic book with the rest of the team, you know, the heroes behind me. And so all new songs and a rooftop recording production and a senses-shattering crossover event. Meaning I brought in all of these people.
So there's over 20 different guest musicians on that.
Let's see. 4 and 4 is 16. Well, maybe 15. 4 and 4, 32.
Wow.
I had 32 people on this. And I had Phil Mack play the drums on a tune, Dave Roof play the drums, but then I played the rest of the drums on all the pieces. I wrote all the lyrics. I did all the arrangements, created the melodies, because I can play guitar now. And thanks to Andy, my guitar teacher. And on one track, I had a good friend of mine come in, and he wasn't really that comfortable in the singing world, but I mean, this buddy of mine, Eric Stone, he passed away from from cancer, and he
Oh,
was
sorry to hear that.
Thank you. He was in his final months when they came out to do this recording, and I can't appreciate him any more than that. And that's kind of my way of keeping him in my memory. And I actually have a whole booklet of the song words and the players on each song. And I've got this doofus looking dude on the front cover.
That's interesting that you bring that up, because gone are the days when you get the CD, you get to open up the little booklet, and hey, there's all the words of the song, and you see who's the producer, and that's special. That's interesting.
Yeah, and I've got a nice dedication on the back of it, thanking a lot of folks for helping me celebrate my 60th rotation around the sun.
And you recorded that at Rooftop with Dave.
Dave Roof.
And then you had your CD release party, and it was at the
Unity Vibrations.
Yeah, Unity Vibrations. What a great name.
Yeah, and they're a kombucha place, and they actually sell their kombucha in most stores. But but so the song we're going to listen to, the player. Now, I didn't sing all of these songs. I just wanted to make this special and bring some friends in. I did play acoustic guitar, 12-string acoustic guitar, drums, and I did some backing vocals on this. My old buddy Cheech, Francesco Mignaco.
Not Cheech Martin?
No. He played bass and a wood flute. That was his father's wood flute. He was really proud of that. And I used to play in a band with Cheech called Sunday Morning Light. And then some weird guy named Andy Schiller played classical guitar and violin.
Okay.
Sounded beautiful. David Roof played a slide guitar and did some backing vocals. And the lead vocalist was a good friend of mine, good guy, Millen Seth. And I think he did a great job with the vocals on this. So
here it is. It's called Mortal Coil.
Roll it, Dano.
Here goes. Okay, 2 guitars. Violin.
Yep.
A little bit of a country vibe there.
Well, slide guitar.
Slide guitar sounds good.
And flute.
There's a flute in there? Ah. Okay, there's the groove.
Feet on the ground, ready to go. I feel so tired.
It's a really balanced sound with the mixing and the mastering and the production. Well produced.
Bring it down a little bit. What I wanted to create with this song was just a song that talks about how we go through our lives. We're just human. We're on this mortal coil. We're just doing the best we can every day, knowing that life is tough. Life is tough, and there's a lot of frustrations, and we still strive.
It seems like an easy song to sing along to. I like the country vibe of the slide, and with the backing vocals, it makes you feel like you want to sing along. Hey, that guitar riff's pretty cool.
But that was you. That was you.
There's a lot of instruments, okay? There's a lot of layers on this track.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting that you mentioned, Mortal Coil, and it maybe has a deep meaning, but this part has like a joyful kind of tone, like hopeful.
It does. But it's also systematic dysfunction,
The lyrics
Yeah, the
have
lyrics are
a deep meaning.
Yeah, they're not all peppy. Man, we all need a mental vacation.
We all need a mental vacation.
Yeah.
Yeah, It's hard to write lyrics, but that is a good lyric. Mental vacation.
You know, I find it pretty easy to write lyrics.
Okay.
Since I've been a lyricist for nearly 40 years, and I've been able to construct a complete song only a couple of years now.
Okay, Rick Beato would say, hey, great use of suspended chords. No, it's a suspended chord. I like the background vocals a lot.
Yeah, Dave and I did a nice job.
Snare drum sound is great.
Hey, that's me. Cancer of your soul's construction.
The cancer of your soul's construction.
Meaning, we make up a lot of stuff in our head. We have a lot of negative thoughts, and it just kind of eats us from the inside. Our negativity kind of consumes us, and we don't really need all that. We can live better.
It's hard to break out of it once you're there, but
Yeah.
once you get a taste of fresh air, then
Yeah.
you feel like going back to fresh air more and more. So
Well, there's a lot of pain in the world, a lot of pain, and the only thing we can do is work on our own pain and making. Man, I'm a therapist. I think about these things. I think about helping people have a better life.
I want to hear that mandolin. Is this a mandolin? No, okay, that's a classic guitar.
I don't think there was a mandolin in this.
Okay, it must be palm muting, or it has a mandolin-ish sound right there.
Well, you're playing the violin and you're picking.
Oh, okay, it's pizzicato. Okay, that's
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah.
That's cool. I forgot about that part. I was like, what was that?
It's been a couple of years, I think, since we recorded this.
Okay, and then the vocals rise here. He's singing it higher.
Yeah, I wanted to really give some intensity to the idea that our feet are on the ground, and we really have to push ourselves to get out of the funk.
Feet on the ground, ready to go.
Yeah.
And the ending.
I think David might have added some keyboards or something to that too, maybe as a.
Might have been some
padding.
organ in there.
Oh yeah, synth.
Okay.
He did play some synth too.
Cool. Well, thanks for sharing that with us. So,
you're
Mortal
welcome.
Coil has a deep meaning, but the song in itself is just kind of catchy.
Well, I played C major 7, A major 7, F major 7 in this song, and I thought that that really did give it that positive oomph.
Major 7 has a certain mood to it, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I like and C major 7, A major 7, it's just so easy. All you're doing is, on the top two, the second two strings on a 6-string guitar, you're just doing that, and then you're putting your finger, on the next string. The strings would be fret 3 on the A string, fret 2 on the D string.
Right.
And that's C major 7. And then, you've got the C shape. You just lift this finger and put this finger on the G string.
G string fret 1.
Fret 1.
Which makes it G sharp.
Yeah.
And so that has a certain move to the hand that is fluid. And so when you're singing a song and you're playing a song and you're performing, what you're describing is the fluidity of the hand motions is kind of part of the music. It makes it flow.
And the F major 7 is just one, take the C shape and move it down one. And that's beautiful too.
It's the opposite of awkward. It's smooth. And so Music theory wise, that's what you call a chromatic mediant, okay? Because you're playing a C chord or C major 7. And then, like you were saying, you go to A, what is it, A major 7?
A major 7, yeah.
C chord has that G in it. And A major 7 has G sharp.
And then F major 7.
And then F major 7.
Yeah, it was a fun song to create. And then the whole process of creating this collection of songs, I got together with so many people, and it was so nice. And I think you were one of the first people that came over to record. Mm-hmm. You and Cheech came over at the same time.
And I met the bass player that day when I was recording. I think we did bass that day, yeah.
Cheech was the bass player.
Right.
Yeah. Yep, we did bass, violin, my guitar, and I think my guitar and drums might have already been in place.
Yeah.
Yeah. And vocals. I did scratch vocals for it. Because I really wanted to get some very cool voices on this collection. I mean, the one song, Ominous, starts with Ah. There must have been 25, 27 singers on the chorus. That was so fun.
It was a group sing kind of thing. Even I sang on it.
Yeah, and each line was sung by a different person.
That's cool.
It was so cool.
So it's like We Are the World.
Well, in a sense.
But it didn't have Swahili.
No Swahili. No, maybe some Tahiti, but no Swahili. I don't know. Bad attempt at humor, folks. I'm full of it. Full of them.
But that disc has 13 songs, and then can you tell us a little bit about how, you got your CD published and you got copies of it, and how did it end up on YouTube? So who takes care of that for you?
Well, I use CD Baby, and what I really like about CD Baby is that you can put it out on all the platforms, YouTube, Spotify, like we mentioned earlier, and for one price only. I tried this other one with my friend Mike Rozich and some songs we put together, but you had to keep paying for it every year, or else they disappear.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah, with CD Baby, it's up there as long as these platforms exist. In perpetuity. And it might cost a little bit more, but the value outweighs the expense.
Right. And they have sales sometimes. I've used CD Baby. I released 3 songs on CD Baby a few months ago. And, I went to the website and it was like $29.95 to make a release of however many songs you want. You could have released 100 songs on your disc and it's still $29.95.
Yeah.
But I had only 3 songs. And I was thinking to myself, I really want to release this, and so I'm going to work on my album artwork, and then tomorrow I'm going to do it. And then the next day I got up, got coffee, went down to the computer. All right, my album artwork's ready. Went to CD Baby. Hey, today only half price sale. And so it was $15.
Man, I wish I would have caught a sale like that, because I've got 4 records, 5 up on CD Baby. Records, CDs. Collections of recordings.
Albums. What do you call it now?
LPs.
I guess you have to say recordings. But
Yeah. But it's a great platform, and I really highly recommend it. It's done me well over the decade.
That is interesting that a lot of major artists are kind of switching to, I'm not going to wait a year and then release an album with 12 songs. I'm going to do it different. I'm going to release 1 song every month.
That's what I'm doing right now. I've got a project with you playing lead guitar, I'm playing rhythm guitar, David Roof is playing bass, and Phil Mack is playing drums, and we're recording all the songs together, and once the songs are complete, once one of the songs is complete, I'm going to release it, just right there and then.
One at a time.
One at a time.
You can always use the waterfall method. This is something that I heard from, some different music business influencers and gurus online, which is, okay, you release the first song this month. Okay, and then next month when you have your second song, you can release both songs. So you release the first song again. And then the third month, then you release 3 songs. So it has 1 new one plus the 2 from last month.
That's interesting.
And then the 4th month, you release another song. It's 1 brand new song and then the 3 previous ones. So like you're building your
collection. I did have 2 singles out from this record. Unmasking I did a significant time before this project, and my brother sang the lead because it was he was the inspiration for the song. I played drums and rhythm guitar, and Dave played lead guitar and keyboards and bass and all that. And it was called Unmasking, and my brother wanted to do a podcast, which he's been too busy to get to, but he was calling it Unmasking, which is a great concept, and it's about superheroes and secret identities and who these folks really are. And I thought, man, so he asked me to do a theme song for his record, and because I'm really skilled at writing lyrics, I jumped right on it and came up with a pretty cool song. The second one I released was Ominous, because I just thought that's one of the most interesting songs on this collection.
You can re-record or re-release your song multiple times.
Yeah.
And like I said, that's being done now.
Yeah.
But my friend Danny and I are working on some recordings, and we're going to release some before my birthday. I'm turning 50 in 4 months, or 3 months, I guess.
Young man.
So anyway, there will be some recordings that you'll get to hear, including the one that you got to hear today.
A little snippet, yeah. And it's kind of like leaving a legacy. When I'm dead and gone, long dead and gone, little bits and pieces. I'll be like one of those artists that gets famous posthumously. Well, man, back in the 2010s, it was this dude. In fact, my first record I released in 2014, and that was the Sunday Morning Light recording with Cheech and no, Cheech wasn't in the band at the time. Dave Roof played bass, and this dude named Feeder wrote the music and played the guitar. And it was like a one-shot recording. We recorded it, 6 songs in 5 or 6 hours.
Right.
And I played the cajon. David played upright bass. I think David also played some banjo and mandolin on those 5 or 6 songs. And so I've been a recording artist for over a decade. If you don't count the ones from the 90s that I did with a band called Soylent Green.
Soylent Green.
Well, then we became Edgar Allan's Toe.
I remember seeing that name out there. Thinking of band names is hard.
Yeah. My current band name, which you're a member of now, is Bark's Tales. Bark's Tales.
Perfect. Short and to the point, and you can't mispronounce it, or you don't see it on a sign and go, I don't know how to say that. It's simple.
Well, and it's kind of a pun because my last name has always been Barker. Bark, and I'm telling stories. Tales. But it also sounds like it could be a dog's tail. Tail. So it's kind of, I don't know how I thought of it, but man, I thought of it in my first solo recording that I called Bark's Wagon Tales. And then it's just kind of stuck.
Yeah, once you think of a good name, you should stick with it.
Yeah.
When I was in high school, here's a funny story to end our podcast on today. So I was in high school, 1988, right? And so it was me, my friend Matt, who played bass, and my friend Irv, who played drums. And we were in class, and we had this substitute teacher, and she was kind of this prim and proper lady who was shocked at what teenagers would say and do. But anyways, we were like, hey, we're gonna go practice in the garage after school. You know, we're gonna have our band and we're gonna play really loud and it's gonna be fun. And she overheard us and she's like, what? You're in a band? What's your band called? And we said, Scourge! And you know, you have to make the horns when you say it.
Right.
And you have to kind of growl too. You have to go, Scourge! Like that. Because we were called Scourge.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh no, you shouldn't name your band that. That's terrible. You know what? You should think of something better. How about, you know, something having to do with sound? Or something to do with something pleasant that people like, you know, like a garden. Like, how about Garden of Sound? And we were like, no, that's not good.
That's not punk, man.
People won't want to come listen to Garden of Sound. She's like, how about Soundgarden? And we were like, no, that's a stupid name for a band. No one would like to go see a band called Soundgarden. We're not going to choose that name. We're sticking with Scourge. And this was 1988.
You know, naming a band is a challenge. And, you know, we had this guy we turned Soylent Green into Edgar Allan's Toe, and then he left the band. We got the name, then he boogied. But, you know what the interesting overlap of the two names, Soylent Green, Edgar Allan's Toe, what do you think the overlap is?
What is it? Soylent Toe.
What are the initials in Edgar Allan's Toe?
EAT?
Eat.
Right.
Soylent Green.
Ah.
Yeah, I know it's silly.
Okay.
I'm probably the only one in the whole universe that made that connection.
Well, there's another funny, one more story. There's another funny band name story, and that is that I was in like a roots rock band, which was, I played mandolin and fiddle. We had electric cello, which, you know, you saw the guy, my friend Ben Davis played cello. And we had a great bass player and singer. His name was Theron. He is a very talented singer-songwriter.
Yeah, I've heard of him.
And we had a drummer who was great, and we had a singer who later went on to be on the X Factor. But anyway, we were sounding pretty good, and we had a producer that had won a Grammy Award, and so the producer signed us to like, okay, I'm going to be the producer of your record, and if you make it big, I'm going to keep all the money, you know, and we're like, great, no problem. And so he went to the studio, and he's like, all right. And at the time, the name of the band was Ditharam. D-I-T-H-Y-R-A-M-B. It has
you
silent B.
You young intellectuals.
Ditharam, because I guess if you look up Greek, a ditharam is like in ancient Greek times in like 400 BC, they'd bang on logs, or they would have like a drum circle jam, and it was called a ditharam, right?
Or a dither jam.
Yeah, ditha-jam. We had this big van, and it said ditharam on the back, and we called it the ditha-van. But anyway, the producer was like, okay, ditharam's not the name of your band. We're thinking of something better. Ready? And we had like a 4-hour meeting, and we still couldn't think of the name of the band. And it was so frustrating because every name got shot down. He's like, no. And so finally, we got to the point where he was like, all right, here's how we're going to name the band. The band is going to have a 3-word name. And so everybody write down 3 words that you think would be cool to put in the name of your band, and write them on a slip of paper. And there was 5 guys in the band. And so we all did that. And so there's 15 little pieces of paper. And he took off his baseball hat, and he put all the papers in the hat, and he stirred it around. And he's like, okay, there's no more arguing. We've been here for 4 hours. This meeting is over. The name of your band is the next 3 words that I draw out of this hat. And you can't argue and go, no, let's think of another one. Too
It's
late.
done.
This is it. Ready? Go. And he didn't look at what the words were before. He just
Pulled him out of a hat.
pulled them out of the hat, and it was Deep Green Nation.
Wow, that's a good name.
That was a pretty good name.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
by chance, that name was thought of just randomly, right? But
I got another name story.
okay, do it.
I was trying to form a blues band, and initially, this band contained myself, named Mike, then this guitar player named Mike, and a bass player named Mike, and a harmonica player named Fred.
Mike, and Fred?
Yeah, and so I thought
Three Mikes and a Fred.
I thought it'd be fun to call it Mike's Mighty Rhythm Bandits.
Right.
And then the one Mike left and Fred left, and I looked really hard to find some other members. Had
Some
a few,
other Mikes?
Well, we could never find another Mike, and so we dropped the Mike and just made it the Mighty Rhythm Bandits. Mighty Rhythm Bandits. You know, we
3 names.
3 names. We kept to that format.
3 names is good. If you're trying to think of a name for your band, just think of 3 names.
Next band I can call UGH. 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 Well, this has been a lot of fun.
Here we are. So this is the end of, what episode are we on anyways?
4.
Episode 4.
4.
And next time we'll have a guest and we'll just keep it rolling.
Rolling down the highway. And for now, happy Sunday.
Cheers.
Yeah, Hill Street Blues.